Greetings. I'm Angela with Aja Mecca Crystals, and today I'm going to talk about this little green stone here, the Moldavite. I'm going to talk about my Moldavite experience, and this will be part one. All right, so where do I begin? I've been on a journey for quite some time, trying to find my purpose. But, you get a little distracted, life happens, you have to work. So sometimes it's a little hard to try to stay on the path of what life is about, right? So I'm familiar with the teachings with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about that there's 7 inhabitable planets, there's life on Mars, the supreme wisdom lessons. So I don't believe in spookism. So I just believe that it is what it is. And our sole purpose is to become oneness with the infinite. So anyway, this Moldavite is called transformation stone. So like I said before, I've been on this journey for quite some time, but I'm going to kind of start at the beginning of this year. I decided to, over the years, I've collected a lot of crystals and I've sold some, like on eBay. I've always had this passion for them it's been like that for a good while. But anyway, at the beginning of this year, I decided that I wanted to open up an online store, Aja Mecca. And there's a name behind, there's a reason behind the name Aja and Mecca, but that's another video. But anyway, so I gave myself a timeline. I said I wanted to be done, by the end of January. And so, yeah. So as I opened up my online store, I said I wanted to understand what this was I was feeling about these gemstones. And so I decided to purchase this book, the Book of Stones. And in the book, they talked about, immediately when I opened up the book, they talked about this transformation stone, the Moldavite. And I was like, why come I've never heard of this stone? I mean, I've been collecting for a few years, not a lot, but I've been collecting. And I was like, I don't own this. I'm going to have to get me this stone, because it was like, if you really want to find some type of, have some big transformation in your life, this is the stone to get. So that was, I purchased the book, and that was back in February. So I was like, I got to have this stone. And so I was looking on eBay, and I was like, I don't even know if these are real. So I knew I was going home to visit my family in Texas. So I decided that I was going to go to the gem store there. And I made it, I said to myself that I'm going to this gem store and I'm going to get this Moldavite. So fast forward to April, spring break, so I fly in. Actually, I fly into Houston. The store is in Austin, Texas. But I fly into Houston, and I was like, okay, we're going to spend a couple of days in Houston. We're going to go to Austin. And as soon as we get into Austin, we're going to the gem store. So when I get into the gem store, the people were kind of busy. And so I kind of looked around, because as soon as I get in there, it's like, whoa, it's just this tranquil, calming effect as soon as you hit the door. So anyway, I asked the guy, I was like, do you guys have this stone, the Moldavite? And he was like, oh yeah, sure. And he goes, this stone changed my life. And so he points to, or holds up this, it was a glass necklace, and in the middle of the glass was a little stone, actually smaller than this. And he said, this is the stone that changed my life. And I was like, yeah. He said he didn't know anything about gemstones, and he bought this necklace, and he wasn't paying any attention. And someone said, oh, that's a Moldavite. But he said, fast forward to the day, I'm working in a gem store, a gem stone store. So I was like, wow. He was like, yeah, it's just been taking me on this journey. So anyway, so he points, because the Moldavites are behind this locked counter. So he points to him, and all he had were those small pieces. And I was like, wow, so this is the Moldavite, right? And I was thinking, they're kind of expensive. And he had some bigger pieces, but I was like, I don't really know what this is, so I'm just going to get a few small pieces. And so he said, won't you feel which one feels right for you? And so I grabbed about 4 of these. I have 3 here. But I gave one to my husband. And so I was like, okay, cool. And while I was in there, I saw a lot of other things that I wanted, but I was like, I'd already bought a couple of more, because they have a depot in the back. So I'd already bought some more stuff for my home business, my online store. So I was like, I'm set. I didn't want to spend any more money. I was like, these should do. And so it was like almost $30 for those small pieces, right? So anyway, so I immediately go to my son's house, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and I sit in the backyard, because I specifically went to Texas just to get some sun, because right here I'm on the East Coast, so it's like no sun at all, vitamin D deficient. I can't live like that, right? So I immediately goes in his backyard, beautiful day, and I put this Moldavite up to the sun, and it was amazing. And then I just kind of leaned back in the chair and placed it on my third eye. And so I just sit back. It was just real warming sensation. I don't know if it was actually the Tektite or just a hot day, but it was warm. I stayed outside for what, maybe about an hour. So I come inside, and I was like, I really wasn't feeling anything, but there was a warm tingling, I was like, it's glass, or feels like glass. And so I was like, So I think we stayed in Texas another day, and then we flew back. So anyway, so as I fly back, I was like, that night, I was like, well, let me sleep with this Tektite tonight. So I lay down, and I just kind of stick it on my forehead, try to stay still because it's a small piece. And I was like, these are expensive. If I lose this piece while I'm sleeping, I'll be like really upset. So anyway, as I lay down and I go to sleep, I had a dream. And, I can control my dreams to a certain extent. If it's a bad dream, I can say, hey, why am I going through this? Makes no sense. Boom, wake myself up. I'm not gonna go through this dream. Why get my blood pressure up while I'm sleeping, So, but anyway, so this night I had a dream, and as I'm dreaming, I'm reading a book, and I've never dreamed about text. It looked like a book. It was white, and it had typed letters. So I'm reading this book. I can't tell you what the book was about, or what the words were that I was reading, but as I'm going through the text, I come across a word. And then I was like, I've never seen that word before. So, I could break it down, but I went again, and then I came across it the second time. And then by the third time, I was like, what is this word? So I told myself that in order for me to understand what I'm reading, even though I didn't know what I was reading, I need to spell this word out and then, look it up. So I'm in my 50s, so it's like I went back and I was spelling out the word in my dream. Georgiaite. And I went back a few times because, sometimes it's just hard for me to remember. And so then I woke up. My alarm hadn't gone off, so I immediately grabbed my cell phone. I had to turn it on because I'm one of these people that while I'm in my bedroom, I try to unplug. So I had to turn it on, and I start typing in this word, which I had in my head to remember so I can look it up to see what this meant. So I couldn't find it. It was like, maybe I was spelling it wrong or whatever. So the alarm went off, and I told my husband, this Moldavite, some word, and I kind of spelled it out, and he was like, wow. So I get up, take a shower, and it wasn't until I got back to work, I typed in the word on my desktop computer. And as I'm typing it in, Georgite, Georgite. I guess that's how you pronounce it. And I was like, well, that's weird. Why is this, Moldavite leading me to this word? So I type it in, and it leads me to another tektite. And I was like, you're leading me to another meteorite? What in the world? You telling me that I need to look for another meteorite or understand what this is? So I was like, well, what is it? Couldn't find it. I did see some pricing, but it was expensive. So I was like, whatever. And so it kind of stayed on my mind a little bit, but I had to go to work. Or do my work, because I was at work already. And so I just kind of put it in the back of my head. And then when I got home, I looked it up again. And then I saw some Georgite. I saw the word, and then it was a book called the Gemstone Chronicles. I think the guy's name is William Stewart. Talked about it a little bit, so I was like, well, man, let me download this book on my Kindle, because I had some free downloads. So it was like, okay, I'm just download it. So it was a quick read, the Gemstone Chronicle, but it didn't give me any detail really about this Georgite. But I did find out that Georgia had this gold belt that I didn't know, and all these minerals and whatnot. I was like, wow, I had no idea. So anyway, I still kind of put it in the back of my mind after I read I didn't read all of them. It was 2, the Gemstone Chronicles, but it didn't give me any real information on this gemstone. That it was a tektite, something about the Chesapeake Bay, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, I had to go to work. So it's like you kind of still put it behind you. But then Mother's Day was coming up, and I told my daughter, I said, the only thing I want for Mother's Day, if you guys all have to put your money together, I saw some really cool earrings at the gem store, and I want them. And so they bought me these Moldavite earrings for Mother's Day, and they're kind of strong, so I don't wear them all the time, but yeah, aren't they pretty? But anyway, so I kind of just put that behind me, and just carried on with my life. Meanwhile, I'm still transforming. I'm still trying to find the path of what my purpose in life is. And so just the other day, early part of this week, I was like, well, let me take out my Moldavite again. Because it is a transformation stone. What does this really mean? Because I've just been doing just a lot of things. I have the online store. It's just, hey, I'm feeling some kind of way. It's like there's this shift happening. And so I said, well, let me take the Moldavite out again. And so this time I put it on my head and I put a little tape on it. I really didn't have a bunch of dreams. At least I don't think I did, or not anything that was really just wow. But the next day, I decided to go to YouTube and search about Moldavite again. And I ran across, I can't remember the YouTuber, but she talked about how it transformed her life, and it's still ongoing. But anyway, she ended up in South Korea. She was only supposed to be there for a little while. Her family's from there, and then, needless to say, she was still there. And it was just amazing. So I was like, well, let me, look kind of more deeply into the Georgite. So I started going on the computer because for whatever reason, now I think I have to possess this stone, but it is very rare, super rare, super expensive, and only collectors pretty much own them. I just can't find them. Supposedly there are only like 3,000 in the world, and if there's more, people might not even know what they are. But anyway, while I was searching for this, I sent out a couple of emails asking people who actually sold meteorites if they had it, told them about my dream, and for whatever reason, it's like searching for the Holy Grail for me, right? So a name kept popping up. Hal Pulvermere. I guess he used to work for NASA, and he wrote all these tech-type books. And now I really think that I should like meet this guy or find out what he knows. I know he has some books. Maybe I should like buy the books or get them from the library. I don't know, but he's also wrote books on UFOs. And like I said before, I'm not a spooky person because I grew up or understand somewhat the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I do know that there are life on other planets. But what this Moldavite or my angel or whatever you might call him, my spirit guide, is trying to tell me from this, but I had no idea about this stone. Did not know anything about this stone. And now it's like I have to possess this Georgite. All right, that's part 1, and my search continues. Peace.